Cool. Okay, we got Lelemba here.
Hi, everybody. So I was saying when we are assessing a business or an idea, we look at two things. We look at both the entrepreneur or the team that is leading this business, and we also look at the business itself. And so from the business perspective, a number of things are important. Number one is that you've actually identified an idea, a problem, and that you've got a solution for this problem, and that these two actually link together. A lot of times entrepreneurs are not sure what problem they're solving. They might just be passionate about their product, but they're not entirely sure what problem it's solving. Thirdly is we want to see that you've got a big enough market that wants this solution of yours, and that you've just done a little bit of research to dig into how big your market is. And this is fairly easy nowadays with the internet, and you can talk to us about the market, whether it's in terms of the amounts of dollars that people are spending on this type of product or the number of people that are impacted by the problem. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we can be so passionate about a particular product or a particular problem that we don't even know how big the issue is, or maybe just affects me and my 5 friends or my friends in the neighborhood. And so these three are super critical, because if you've ticked these right, other parts of your business can actually be fixed. If you are at idea phase, we want you to have just thought about how you want to tackle this problem differently, because most people at idea phase have not even got any traction yet. They don't know whether this is actually a real problem. It's something that a school like Startup Circles actually helps you to validate early in the process. Like, do people actually want this as a product? Is this a type of solution they're looking for? But so if you're at idea phase and you're still exploring, what we want to see is that you're thinking about it in a unique way, which is differentiated from everybody else that's on the market. And so we'll ask you questions like, how does this solution differ from what everything else that is available? And you being able to articulate this in a nice, brief way is really important. From the team side, first of all, as Enigma Ventures, we invest in majority women-owned or majority women-led businesses. And so we want to see that there's women on your team. And this shouldn't be just about, a window dressing thing where you say she's the CEO, but maybe she actually has got no power. We want to see that your team has actually got women. And we want to see diversity in your team. We want to see different skill sets from the people that you're working with, because with diversity comes a lot of strength. And so diversity can be from a skill set perspective. It can be gender, it can be race, it can be religion, but diversity always makes teams richer. And so we want to see some level of diversity. Secondly, we want to see that you are teachable and that you can take feedback. Building a business on this continent, you're not the only one who's thinking of that problem. You are really not the only one that is trying to tackle that problem. And so being teachable is super critical in ensuring that you actually thrive as a business owner. And so we want to see that you've got these characteristics where you can take feedback, where you can apply quickly, and where you can learn as you're going along. We are always excited to see business opportunities, and we want to see entrepreneurs who are in spaces that they really care about and that they are passionate about. Because what we know is that entrepreneurship is challenging and that it can be tough. And so we want to know that you actually care about the problem that you're tackling, you're passionate about it, you can identify with your customers. All of that are the things that actually matter in a team.
Yeah. The other question that we get a lot is that, is it true, like, you're really looking for companies to invest in? Like, is there money? Is it real? Or you just like to watch entrepreneurs suffer?
Cool.
I just pitch you and then I go do this.
So the question is it real that there's money to be invested and that investors really look for opportunities, or do we just want to make entrepreneurs suffer with pitching? So yes, there is money. So I'll give you an example. Last year alone, during the pandemic, Enigma Ventures invested in 10 businesses, and we invested over $3.4 million into these 10 businesses. So yes, there is money. And yes, we are really reading your applications. And yes, we're trying to respond as best as we can to each of you. And so what we do encourage is that you invest some time in really developing your business and developing your idea and then getting the right traction that will be attractive for investors. That helps your chances significantly. And so if you are at that idea phase, maybe you need support. And there are programs, for example, that Startup Circles run that helps you validate that quickly so that you're not wasting time, you're not wasting money, and you're not wasting effort. That is super important. If you've got an existing business, it might just be that the way that in which you are articulating your problem or your solution is not clear. And again, here, if you do need help, there are programs on Startup Circles that can help you get more and more succinct. Succinct means brief and clear about what it is that you're doing and how you're tackling it. We say if you can't describe your business and how it's making money in one sentence, then you've got some work to do, because you have to be able to communicate it clearly and quickly. Because sometimes the opportunities that you get to actually meet an investor, you could bump into them at a cocktail party, you could bump into them in an elevator. And so your ability to communicate this well is super important as well.
Another question from Loengo Mafokate says, what are the key considerations for startup company valuation and allocation of shares to investors?
Great. This is a question that we get often, startup valuation. The key for us is we look at your EBITDA, which is your net profit, how that is looking. We look at whether you are owing people money. This reduces your valuation if you are owing people money, because what we want is that when we invest, this money is going into scaling your business instead of going into paying back people's debt. We look at the assets that you have in order to create the valuation. And we look at the projections of what could this business be in future. And that's why that market sizing is really important. How big could this thing get? And from all of that, and we also look at any risk associated with the industry that you're in, and if your product is actually defensible. If you've got a product that's very easy to copy, that kind of impacts your business valuation as well. So we make a combination of that and come up with a multiple. And how much we invest in, it depends on how much the business needs. The percentage that we are going to get depends again on how we've made the valuation of the business. And so there are a number of things that from an entrepreneur perspective, you need to be cognizant of. Things around how much debt are you carrying, how big your market is. And this whole process we make very transparent with you. And so it's not like we're going to come up with a number and just tell you this is the number and this is how we are, this is how much we're going to own. This is a conversation that goes back and forth. When we do focus for your business, we're doing them with you because we trust that you as the entrepreneur understand your business, understand your costs well, and understand the potential for the business to grow. And so it's a very transparent process. And I think entrepreneurs should not fear this process because most investors are happy to talk you through how this is actually done.
Great. Another question from Lefense saying, what do I need to get investors for a startup? Do I need an idea or a prototype?
So Lefense, whether you need an idea or a prototype depends on which investor you go to. So an important thing to note for entrepreneurs is that different investors invest at different stages. And so when you are approaching an investor, please just do a little bit of research as to what stage do they actually invest in. Some are happy to invest at that idea phase if they're excited about your industry or even they're just excited about your product. They're happy to invest at that idea phase. Just take some time and look it up. What stage do they invest in? Some will only invest when there's an actual prototype. Others will only invest when there's revenue in your business. Others yet will only invest after you've got your product market fit and this business is growing and is at that stage where they feel like the capital injection will create such fuel for this business that it can scale. The lucky thing with our ecosystem in Africa is that it is growing and we've got investors at all of these different phases. From our perspective as Enigma Ventures, we are happy to look at that idea phase as long as you go through an acceleration process where you prove that this is something that can work in the market. And we are also excited about existing businesses that are at that cusp of, exploding. They've proven that people want this product, and with a bit of capital, they can really scale. So we're happy to invest at both stages. Yeah.
A question from Edna Samiti. it's related to what you talked about the market size. Like,
Yeah.
how does one know that the problem one is solving is big? No, like it's going to be huge. Like, how big is a business going to be? How do you know if this is going to be big?
Okay, how do you know if your business is going to be big? There are a couple of things that you can do when you were researching about your market size. You can either look at, so that's why it's important to get right, number one, what problem you are solving, right? If you know what problem you're solving, it's easy then to research how many people are actually struggling with this issue. Say if the problem you are solving is eczema, I've got a good cream that I feel can help ease the discomfort of eczema on the skin. You can Google how many people are actually suffering from eczema in the world. Then you come down to how many people are suffering from eczema in your region. Then you come down to the people that you believe you can reach. Maybe right now you don't have the right distribution channels and you're a small business that's just based, say, in a corner of Cape Town. You can say my immediate market here in Cape Town is this size. This is what we're seeing from research, that the people who are suffering from eczema are X number of people. However, if you're not clear about what problem you're solving, it's very difficult to hone into those numbers because you'll be doing your research wrong in the first place. And so that's one way. Another way is looking at market spend. So for example, you've got a chocolate, a unique chocolate, maybe it's for people who are lactose intolerant. So it's a unique type of chocolate. You can look at how much spend is being done in the chocolate industry worldwide, number one. Then you look at the region, like how much spend is going into chocolate in this region? Like what are people actually spending? All of this is quite researchable online nowadays. And then you get down to, from where I'm based with my current distribution channels, I believe that, say, in the next 6 months, I can access the Pick n Pays, for example, the Pick n Pays in my city, which means I would be able to distribute this much chocolate. So there's different ways. It can be around dollar spend that's being spent on this particular problem or this particular product. It can also be on the number of people that are suffering from this problem, are looking for this product. So you can tackle your research in different ways. Yeah.
Do you only invest in, this is from William Jackson, says, do you give funding to startup businesses as well or only existing businesses? In other words, if you give to the ones that are just starting, what should they do?
Cool. So we invest in both. So the ones who are just starting, what we require is that you create the right traction quickly to show us that this is actually a valid idea. So we recommend that you go through an acceleration program to do this, because a lot of entrepreneurs waste time, waste money, waste effort, say investing in something when they haven't even proved whether people want it already. We have seen so many examples of entrepreneurs coming to us and saying, I've developed an app. What is the app doing? Okay, so the app is, I can you can order coffee off of your app. And if you ask, have you found out whether people actually want to be ordering coffee off of their apps yet? Or is this an assumption that you're making? What if people actually enjoy taking a walk to the coffee shop instead? Or maybe it's part of their, taking a break to actually walk away from their desks and go and order a coffee. So by going through an acceleration program, it helps you cut out the noise of making too many assumptions about whether this is workable or not, to getting the right traction quickly, which helps you prove to an investor that this idea is investable and that it can actually be built into a business. So if you are just at that idea phase, my recommendation is that you go through an acceleration program. And Startup Circles has got a program called the Launch Program, where you validate very quickly, because you'll be able to put together the right type of evidence that gives an investor confidence to say that this is something that's investable. Yeah. So right now as Enigma Ventures, we have an open call for applications where we are looking for both great ideas which are innovative, which you believe can be scalable, and we're also looking at existing businesses. And the existing business must be at that point where they're feeling like, yeah, now I'm ready to grow and we want to scale this business. And scaling can be both maybe by using technology or through distribution channels. You feel like your business is scalable. Scalable means that it's replicable easily, even up to 100 times. And most people just assume that scaling means technology. No. Scaling can also be through different distribution channels. And so if you believe that your business has got the potential to scale and this is being replicable and growing even up to 100 times, then please apply. The application process itself is an education process as well. So even if you're feeling like right now, I don't feel confident enough to apply for funding, do it. Because in the application process, you get an assessment that helps you to see how ready you are for investment. And it teaches you little things in each of the questions. There's some explanations that teach you little things about what we're looking for as investors. So what I would encourage is that you do go through the application. It also adds you onto our mailing list where we share resources on a monthly basis. And it can be resources from how can I make my application better, to how can I grow my business, to how can I improve cash flow in my business, to just encouragement sometimes. We share success stories with some of our entrepreneurs. We share real life stories about what's working for entrepreneurs in our network or not. And thirdly, it puts you in contact with a network of other entrepreneurs. Because sometimes for a lot of us, what you want to see is that there are other people who are like you, who are tackling similar issues or similar problems. And sometimes that just gives you a lot more confidence. So I'd encourage that whether you're believing you're ready to take funding, that you do go through the application process, because through going through the application process, you learn and you start to gain the confidence to grow your business, but also to apply and talk to investors.
Great. Yeah. Final words of encouragement to entrepreneurs.
Final words of encouragement is stay in the game, right? We need entrepreneurs. Any aspect of life requires learning and it requires resilience. I mean, even if you are a full-time employee, you know that on your first day of the job, you were feeling like, can I really do this? And it took time to learn. So don't feel discouraged just because you're on an entrepreneurship journey. Stay in the game. The more you're in the game, the more you are networking with others, the more you are learning, the better you become. Anything is only a challenge before we figure it out. And we can only figure it out if we stick with it. And so I would encourage you to all stay in the game and keep hacking away, and to know that there are resources that are available to you. So give yourself really like a great pat on the back for joining the summit. And I'd encourage you to stay for the rest of the days, because you're going to have investors from different parts of Africa, but also who are looking at businesses at different stages. And from each of us, you're going to learn something completely different that only strengthens you as an entrepreneur on this amazing journey. Africa needs you, so please stay in the game. Yeah, thank you.